Hello everyone, my name is Cutie. Welcome to Perilous Paths here on GDQ Hotfix. Today, we're gonna have a bit of a holiday special, and we're gonna celebrate the only way that we know how. Roguelike drops are essentially presents with just a little extra RNG to them. So you always kind of know what you're hoping for, you know exactly what you want. Maybe it's a legendary sword or piece of armor, but you know what, sometimes you just get socks. And so we're gonna see what we can unwrap today. Now we are gonna start off with Rogue Legacy any %. This is going to be just a clean file run, and whatever happens, happens. Assuming all goes well, we're gonna have what I'm calling a bonus run of Rogue Legacy 2, which would be any % seeded. Now, seeded in roguelikes is basically if everything goes exactly as planned. You know what's going to come up, you know where bosses and rooms and different things will be. And then we'll round things out with a game that I'm super excited for, which is a Metroidvania called 8 Doors, Arum's Afterlife adventure, any %. And this game is, as far as I know, based on Korean folklores, so I'm super excited for this. And we're going to only have one runner today, because we have a legendary expert who is great at all three of these things. And so I want to go ahead and bring in Detra and his commentator Cabbage. How are you two doing today?
Doing great today. Thanks for having us on. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, man, we're doing great. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the game, a little bit about the run, what we can expect to see, and then we'll go ahead and kick right into it.
Yeah, for sure. So Rogue Legacy 2 is a game where you're playing as the reincarnation of Abel, and your brother is Cain, who's tyrannically ruling over this kingdom, and your job is to basically go around, collect a bunch of estuary, or defeat a bunch of estuaries, and eventually confront your brother and like free the known island that you're on. In terms of the run itself, there's a lot of different strategies. It's gone through many different iterations over the years. The one we're currently on is very, very risky, so we won't be doing it today. But there are some more consistent runs that we can pull out that are still very exciting. Things that we're looking for are relics that will buff our character at the cost of our maximum health. The lower our maximum health, in some cases, will give us more damage. But we'll try not to play too risky.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and kick it off then.
Yeah, for sure. Timer starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good luck and have fun. Looking forward to seeing this.
I was on the
You got this, man.
Good enough.
No, you can do it. You got this.
So first thing you're going to notice is we have 2 mods active in the game, and they're quality of life mods. Every single time you start the game up, you have to skip the tutorial, and you have to retire your first heir. The first heir doesn't have any sort of bonuses attached to them or anything that would help you otherwise complete the run more quickly. So we're going to look for a new heir, and this is where the first of the 2 quality of life mods comes into play. What we're going to do is the mod itself actually re-rolls infinitely the first heir, so that you can look for the heir you want to run with. What we're going to be doing specifically is looking for a clown, because it's really, really fun to run with the clown, and I think it'd be fun to show off the movements. Good for us, you could just roll through the starting heirs just to look for the clown's face. It's pretty noticeable. Sometimes you'll mistake it for a vampire. Basically, we're looking for white with black eyes. White with red eyes is the vampire. And the reason we want to use the clown is not only for the fun movement option, but it also allows us to... There we are, big red nose.
Perfect.
It also allows us to spin kick off of terrain at the cost of 30% of our maximum HP. And the reason that's useful is because it allows us to move through a lot of areas a lot more efficiently. You can spin kick off of walls, you can spin kick off of spikes, you can also spin kick off of black water, which is running rampant throughout the entire kingdom. Most notably in the areas we have to go to, which are going to be the heirlooms. Heirlooms are going to be your metagame buffs that give you access to all of your abilities, your double jump, your air dash. Right now we can only dash on the ground. spin kicking off of resonant projectiles, which are highlighted yellow. You can't interact with them unless you have the echo kicks, which is going to be the second buff we're getting. Currently, what we're doing right now is we're mainly going left in terms of where we're moving around, and this is why.
Nice.
So this is going to be the Ankh of the Shawl, the first heirloom that we get, and this allows us to dash in the air. Navigation during the map, or for the map, is pretty all over the place. Basically, the way you find rooms in this is know how the rooms spawn and what their possible connections are in terms of to other rooms, and then you have to navigate to them as best you can while blind guessing where they might be. And this is going to be the first room where we actually get to use the clown's ability, coming up right here. You could do a fun little route where you skip this and just jump straight up here. Saves you a little bit of time, maybe a few seconds over backtracking back to the left. But the clown will get a lot more use in terms of their ability later on.
It's a lot of fun to see.
So the other rooms we're looking for in the Citadel, which is the first area of the run, is we're looking for the throne room, which has no connections to the bottom of it. So we have to enter from either the left, right, or the top of it. The Stygian Study, basically the other areas of the game that we're looking for. Stygian Study, Axis Mundi, and Fish and Dry Lake. Dry Lake is going to be our bottommost room. Stygian Study is going to be our topmost room, and Mundi is going to be to the left or to the right. The easiest way to progress is just going right and up right now, since we're already on the top of the map. And we actually found all three of the rooms in one place. That does not happen often.
That's not common. Good job,
so
man.
Stygian Study, and you'll see we're not going into Stygian Study, but we did dip in there to grab the teleporter. We're going to warp back there later for some easier navigation. This is some more fun clown movement here. You can spin kick all the way up the side of this wall, and instead of going up the middle like you're supposed to, jump on the outside right here, and we get easily into echo kicks. Some more fun clown movement we get to do here with the Blackwater. This saves a couple seconds. The bigger time saves will be later on. But now we get the ability to reset our air dash midair by spin kicking. And it is probably the most useful buff in the entire game in terms of mobility. So anytime that we spin kick off of an object now, we can air dash, even if we've already used it once. And things that we're always going to be looking for are purple rooms. They're marked with a purple question mark on the map. Those have a chance to be either apple rooms, which will give you health or max health. That was fun. They'll give you HP or max health. They will give you the chance to get a new weapon or talent. You already saw one of them at the beginning of the run. You can do an arena where you fight a bunch of enemies, or you can get relics. Relics are the lifeblood of the run. They will give you the most versatility in terms of your build, overall damage, and how you can play the game. And we're going to start right off the bat with going along the tops of these buildings. Since we can spin kick off of anything, we don't have to go through these buildings as normal, which is nice, because there are a lot of buildings that just have enemies in them. I'm going to be ducking into a few of these rooms. Anything that has a purple question mark on it, just looking for those relics. Aside from that, the way that the Axis Mundi is normally generated is it will have rooms that are... Every room that spawned here is procedurally generated, meaning I've seen every single one of these rooms before, or some variation of them, so I know how to navigate through them as soon as I see them. It's just a matter of which ones show up and in what pattern or order. And you'll see one of the things that I'm doing is opening up the map whenever I go into a new area or room. The reason I'm opening up the mini-map is because, for one, when you open up the mini-map, your in-game timer, which is how the run is timed, pauses. But the other is I'm looking for other connections within the room itself to figure out where I'm going to navigate to next. And we're going to pop in here and talk to Maria. She's a pizza girl, but she does a lot more later in the run, in terms of just a little bit of time saved if we need her. Not always useful, but certainly more worth it to grab than not.
And just so you know, Detra, I am seeing a lot of love for you in the chat. A lot of people shouting you out. I know you're not reading that. Obviously, you got a lot on your plate right now, but I thought you should know people are excited. They're happy to see you on the show, as I am, of course. So just letting you know, there's a lot of love out there for you.
Very much appreciate it. And I hope everyone's enjoying their holiday weekends. Something else that's going on right now, I don't know if you have noticed, but there's Christmas presents, Santa hats, snowmen, snowflakes, all kinds of things decorated around the map. This is currently their Christmas event season. So all of their normal enemies and all of their normal breakables have been swapped out for a Christmas-akin variant, wherever appropriate. Many of the enemies will look different than they look in the vanilla game. You can see the zombie had a Santa hat. This guy's got a snowflake for a head. So they do a fun job of celebrating. It also turns all of the meat that normally drops into the run into cookies. And the mana pots are switched out for milk. So it's very, very fun to run this time of year. Especially if you're vegan. There's a trait in this game called vegan that makes it so that whenever you eat meat, you take damage. Since they traded out all of the meat for cookies, you actually don't take damage as a vegan when you try to heal in this game anymore. At least during the event. Perfect. So what we're looking for here in Kerguelen Plateau was the 2 rooms that I just found, giving us those lilies at the bottom of the screen, as well as the throne room. If you collect 2 out of the 3 lilies, there are 3 lily rooms. Then you can open the doors to fight the boss. We're going to wait on fighting the boss just a little bit, as we're looking to get double jump first. And Cabbage, if you want to just talk a little bit about the area while I look for this final room here.
So you can see he's checking the map constantly. This area is called Kerguelen Plateau. It's where Estuary Nama is. It's been cursed with an eternal winter. All the crops have died and the black roots have spread throughout it. So a lot about this game is you're just sort of coming into a situation with a long history of war, betrayal, all sorts of things, and you're not really part of any of that. But the lore is found through journals and memories. But that's kind of what's going on here is eternal winter.
And one of the things that you will notice is every time we reroll our air, we are reincarnating as the same person, just in a different form. I'm not exactly sure how the reproduction happens exactly. I just know that every time we come back, we seem to have a new body, and nobody on the docks has aged at all.
Yeah, they don't go into that. They don't go into the reproduction aspect, but it is sort of taken into account. There's the currency called the red aether, which if you consume it, it gives you a longer lifespan. So that could have something to do with it, but I'm not entirely sure.
And we're coming up on our final meta upgrade that we'll be getting for the run, which is going to be Void Dash. If we're lucky, we'll find some damage to accelerate killing these bosses. Otherwise, we're just going to be slapping them with a wet noodle for probably 10 to 15 minutes. if we're lucky. There is, luckily, at least one guaranteed relic inside of Stygian Study, the area we're in now. So hopefully we do get, and this is going to be our final heirloom here. Hopefully we do get a damage buff. As of now, we have nothing to really increase that. So it looks like we might be taking just a little bit extra time to beat these bosses down. In order to do a no reset run, I do need to kill at least the first 3 bosses before the first death or iteration is over. That way I can make sure that the castle is locked down and doesn't change between each of the iterations. That way we can use all of our previous teleporters and get around the map more efficiently.
Well,
we're going to see how that goes.
Oh, I was going to say, as you're going through this room, I want to let everyone know that GDQ 2025 will be live from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania from January 5th to 12th. Make sure you visit GamesDoneQuick.com and check the GDQ 2025 important dates section to learn more. And if you're crafty, prize submissions are still open until December 28th. I personally love all of our mainline events. I schedule my week around them. I've been watching them for years. So definitely put that onto your schedule. It's coming up and it'll be here before you know it. But with that, back to you guys.
That's very exciting. You guys always host your events in the US, correct?
Yes, I believe so. We do.
That's very exciting. I would love to be able to visit one year. I'm actually waiting for the SGDQ submissions to see if they would like to have this run at that event.
Oh, that would be cool.
All right, so this is going to be the room that we're really banking on having something inside of it. It always guarantees to spawn a relic. Unfortunately, it wasn't useful. The other nice thing about this room, though, is it gives us an apple, which I did take a little bit of damage, so we're going to heal up with that. The navigation points we're looking for right now are we want to go up, and we want to go either right, left, or down. That's the throne room. There's one more room that we're looking for that hopefully we find soon. It's going to be our second mini-boss chamber in Stygian Study. In order to face the boss in Stygian Study, which is the area we're in now, we have to beat 2 mini-bosses to unlock the gate guarding the throne room for the boss. And this area is very... It's like a giant library. If you want to talk a little bit about the area and the boss that spawns here, perfect.
So this area, Stygian Study, this is a giant library. This is where all the scholars, the king's scholars kind of conferred. And I think sort of the leader of them, the estuary, was Enoch. And there's a lot of really interesting lore with him, particularly with another estuary, Smaugh, and their sort of forbidden romance.
And Enoch and Smaugh, we'll get to them soon.
Yeah.
This is Lamech, the first area's boss, the first area's estuary. Like I said, it is going to be a bit of a wet noodle fight. We don't have any damage to spawn this run, but hopefully I can make it fast enough so that it's not a total drag here. The run will definitely pick up later on.
He has his shield ability, so he uses that, and that'll block all damage if he times it right, and then he stays invincible for a bit longer. So see, he's able to just walk right through those fireballs. That's
the other benefit of the shield is it also makes your enemy vulnerable for a time after you've used it against them. So if they get hit by the explosion of your shield, you're able to guarantee critical hits against them. And guaranteeing critical hits also allows you to do something called a super crit. We did pick up the obelisk, which gives us 20% super crit chance on top of our natural super crit chance. So we do have a little bit of extra damage, which is nice, but it's not very consistent.
The other thing, you got the white beard too.
The way that skill crits work is every weapon will have the ability to skill crit by doing or performing something different with the weapon. With the greatsword, if you dash, you will always skill crit. With the only other weapon we use in this run, dashing is the only way to skill crit. Unfortunately, dashing isn't the most effective way to actually attack giant enemies that are 2 feet in front of you. So for the most part, we're not going to be able to consistently skill crit unless we get a relic that says otherwise. If you want to talk a little bit about the Void Beast, Hellfire, and Bjarth here.
So Hellfire and Bjarth, you'll notice this boss is actually not an estuary. It's something called Void Beasts. The estuary was oh man, I'm blanking.
Measureval?
Measureval, right? Measureval. Something interesting about the estuaries is they're all named after children of Cain in the Bible. So kind of going down the line. Now these two, he was a pirate king kinda, and he noticed something was happening. His crew was going to die, so he sacrificed himself for them, and they ended up becoming void beasts as a result.
The third boss that we're going to fight here is going to be Smaugh. We unlocked Arum earlier, so we won't have to watch that animation again. But she is going to be I think you said love interest of Enoch, who's the 4th boss?
Yes, there's a very interesting bit of lore where Enoch, who you'll see he's kind of a scary looking guy, he drew a smiley face with a bunch of hearts around it for her in a note. And it's just interesting that these things are real people, despite how terrifying they can be.
And also the bad guys.
They're also the bad guys, writing cutesy notes. I do like that about this. The soldier you see, Jonah, he has a line about how he thought she was the exception to the rule of them being bad, and it took him a long time to realize that they're all exceptions, that everyone's an exception. So there's been a lot of time in between all the events of the game happening and now, for everyone to sort of reflect on things that happened.
And one of the other fun things about the boss, or at least the boss tech, is in order to finish the boss fight, you're actually required to open the chest after you defeat the boss. If you do happen to defeat the boss 100%, their health bar is gone, they've disappeared. It doesn't matter if you quit out to the start of the game. You'll actually basically respawn them. You can fight them all over again, so long as you don't collect their chest. Once you collect their chest, you're able to quit out, and the reason we quit out is because there's a longer animation of the final boss chamber opening up, or unlocking one of the 6 black roots that's locking it away. That animation does come coupled with a couple of other animations, depending on the boss that you fight. There's a boss later where we're actually going to watch their animation because of everybody's favorite part of the game, basically, is a dragon that you get to pet.
It's well worth it.
Always worth the time loss. And the reason that we can quit out after the chest is it warped us immediately back to the start. Quitting to main menu lets you go back to the very start with basically no penalty. There are some situations where you don't get a heal if you quit out of a if you quit out of like an heirloom, but for the most part, it's pretty free. So saves a little bit of in-game time, saves a little bit of some RTA time. And we have beaten our quote-unquote safety bosses. So now if I do die, I can come back with the Architect. So we're actually going to continue on here and finish searching through Area 5. Maybe we end up getting a damage upgrade here. It's a little dangerous. Might just end up dying, but this is why we did the safety bosses first. That's fun. That's really fun. And Sun Tower's quirk is much like Axis Mundi, where you are basically climbing through scaling the level horizontally. We're scaling this one vertically. There's only 2 regions in the game that are really like these long treks without a bunch of rooms in between.
Nice.
So it's one of the more fun areas to climb, especially if you see a much taller area. I'm gonna go in and out of some of these rooms to reset enemy attack animations just to be a little bit safer. But if we're lucky, we'll get to see a longer tower section. It's just not wanting to give it to me.
Totally fine.
There are sometimes areas of this section where you can completely climb on the outside all the way up, and the height of each of these tower sections or outside sections is completely different every single time you load in. So you can have a run like this where you get surprisingly almost no outside sections, or you can get a run where you have basically the entire first outside section you see reaches to the top. Ooh, that's interesting.
That's you don't go for Ivy Roots.
Ivy Roots will increase my my damage by 25% while I'm on the ground, but the other one will give me 30% overall gold. So if I can, and this is a big if, but if I can beat this boss without taking any damage, then I can retire this heir with 30% more gold than I would have gotten otherwise, saving me a bit of time, accelerating the next character, and making the overall game just a little bit faster. At least the remainder of the game. And all of the relics, everything you get from beating these, or going around the map and collecting, all of those are going to increase based off a percentage of your base damage. So if I were to get a bunch more base damage with the extra gold that I get here, then I can actually accelerate, say, an endgame build by, another 20% DPS if I find the right relics. It's a little bit risky, but this is actually one of the more fun fights. You can see we're facing 2 eyeballs right now. This is a rod. And this fight is... They have very geometrical patterns. It's actually very, very satisfying to play around this room. There's a few attacks that they can throw out at the same time that are not fun, just because they have you stalling in the air for a very long time trying to avoid them. But aside from that, it's pretty fun, pretty enjoyable to dance around them. And if you wanted to talk a little bit about a rod in the lore, this man is a master tactician of sorts.
Yes. So a rod is the tactician for the king, and at some point he oh,
that's okay. We're gonna get our second character a little early here.
That's all right. That was Lady Hi Mom. That's a good one.
How much gold do I have? Enough for this. Enough for one of these. That.
Oh, you got to the Zen? Cool.
One more? Yes. We get the list.
Yes. One of the best classes in the game.
Arguably the best class in the game.
Yeah.
The reason that the duelist is the best class in the game is because their weapon and their talent. Their weapon has the fastest attack speed in the game outside of like the gun, but with much higher damage. I think I am going to actually use that gold later after I beat these bosses.
Okay.
But you can basically attack twice as fast in the air as you can on the ground, which allows for faster stacking of different abilities like poison, combo, things like that. But the ability is a 2-second cooldown, about like 0.75 seconds invulnerability that allows for a little bit of a roll movement. Good for clearing projectiles, anything that's actually annoying to clear otherwise, good for getting through rooms unscathed. You can even extend the iframes on it if you wanted to by ending the roll early and extending it with a dash, which will be very useful for the final boss. Or final boss before we fight the final 2 bosses. But this is going to take just a little bit, so if you want to talk about Rob now.
This is the Arad. He is a tactician for the king, and at some point he either created or found something called a black seed box, basically like a 2-way radio, so he could confer with the king. He gave it to one of his students, Jabal, and he basically would send his strategies over to the king. And at some point he found out that it was actually Jabal listening in and taking all of his strategies for himself. So he was not getting any of the glory. And when he confronted Jabal, Jabal told him essentially like, he told him matter of factly, you have to keep doing this. You have to keep doing this and let me get the glory, or else, the king will put you to trial and death. And so Irad basically said nope, and because of that, many people died. So that's just another one of the great tragedies of this game.
And
but now he's dead.
That was a Rod. A little bit longer fight when you don't have damage. He is level 100, I want to say. And the levels scale pretty closely 1-to-1 in terms of how much damage you can expect to be dealing in terms of your level relative to them. So currently we're a bit under leveled. We're level 24. The bosses in this game do scale up to like a level 120. And you can pretty much think of the enemy's level maybe a little bit more than 120, like 150. But you can pretty much think of the enemy's level as a good indicator of how much damage they will be dealing. So for instance, one hit from our friend Arad there deals 96 damage, and he's around level 100, I think. If you fight the estuary that's coming up here, which is Enoch, he's level... I think he's in his 70s, and he deals 75 damage per attack. That was the Void Beast Murmur that we just defeated. And we need to defeat the Gong Heads in order to unlock Enoch. So we're going to bounce out of here, and I think I forgot to get the Gong Heads room. Yeah, so we're going to have to go on a little bit of an exploration. Looks like this is my fastest warp.
Perfectly fine.
The
Gong Heads fight is fun.
It is. When I first started playing this game, I didn't even speedrun it. I actually got into the game by doing the first air run, which is beat the entire game without dying, without retiring your first air. Basically with what the game gives you, which is vanilla character with nothing but Fireball for a spell, and they're obviously a knight for class. And when I was playing through it, I played through level 1 a lot. One of the things I did was, obviously, every time I've gotten an heirloom so far, it refills your health bar, it heals you. So one thing I did to make my life a little bit easier is I would come up and defeat gong heads first. Just in case they did damage me at all, I would be able to heal to full before I got like my first health up. And normally they're not much of a problem. We've got one more fight to do, and then I think we can reset. There is one more fun quirk about this game where the relics that you see aren't always the relics that show up on your next air. We did lock the castle down, or the kingdom down, so everything should have stayed the same. The exception to that being, it's confusing to explain, but basically the way that all of the relics are rolled is in a queue, and by doing certain things like unlocking certain heirlooms, we're actually adding relics to that queue that weren't accessible before we got those heirlooms. So if they, and the queue is random, so we don't know which relics will always show up, or when they'll show up, or which ones will roll. So depending on the queue that is loaded, you can sometimes have a relic that you would like to have on the next character, and it's just not there the next time you load into the kingdom. So that gold trait that we had earlier may or may not still be there. I'm just going to hope that it's there, because the 30% damage would be nice, or the 30% extra gold would be nice, just to find our nice last air here before we go into endgame. Speaking of that, we are about 60% done with the run. After this, we only have one more area to play through. 2 mini bosses and a boss in that area, and then 2 endgame bosses, with no actual areas to go through there. So we're pretty close to the end. That was Enoch.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you. And he's the only boss that doesn't drop gold at the end. Oh, no, wait, never mind.
Oh, no.
It's just a mimic. This is actually the true estuary Enoch. And the reason he's a mimic, do you want to explain why that is, Cabbage?
So he had created a poison because he was trying to kill Irod, was trying to sort of, put a Nama as he was trying to frame her, essentially, get her killed. So he realized he had to kill Irod. He created something called the Black Root Poison, and he accidentally poisoned himself and Murmur, that tall thing that you saw Detra fight earlier. So to save his own life, he put himself in the body of a treasure chest, and then that thing, that his actual body, that was just a puppet. And he's also the one who drew the little smiley with the hearts around it.
And we rightfully do get our gold at the end. Alright, so we are going to go back up here. Like I said, this relic may have rolled. With a little bit of luck, though, it's still here. Oh, hi, Jonna. Perfect. And what this does is kills our character. However, we're leaving everything to our successor. It's called the Future Successor's Bargain. So we get a 30% increase in damage, or sorry, gold for the character we just played through. So we're going to be able to buy just a few extra upgrades here. And I have FND. This should be fine.
Functional neurological disorder. He becomes, when he gets attacked, when he takes damage, he is unable to use his weapon for a few seconds.
So, moral of the story, don't take damage, and we'll be okay.
Yeah, don't take damage. Yeah.
It only locks your weapon, so you are... I don't know if it locks your spell, actually. I believe it might. You can still spin kick, though, so you can still move around just fine.
I don't remember, but I'd also rather not find out.
Oh, we will find out.
Oh, no, you're not going to get hit at all. Come on, man.
I missed.
And you got the teleport.
This is the one time we're going to talk to Jonah. And that's because he gives us a very important item. The sun lantern makes things just a little bit brighter down here. All right. Okay, so this could be... It's not. That's fine. So the ping that we just hit at the beginning, the fork, actually shows us where all the important, quote-unquote, important rooms in this area are. And they're differentiated based off of where their fork's ping is. If you take a little bit of time, you can figure out which room you are going to before you actually go there, which does help a little bit with backtracking and such. Fortunately for us, it looks like the room below us is going to be the black gate room. We just picked up the black key, so we want to go to the black gate room so that we can use the key, drop off the key, and fight this mini-boss. And I did mention earlier that during mini-bosses and bosses, we will exit out, just so that we can skip a cutscene. You're actually going to see that cutscene here, because since I am in the middle of Dry Lake right now, and want to keep progressing, it's actually faster, since I don't have a warp or anything, to just watch the cutscene, which is nice, because we get to see our friend Layden the Dragon get a little bit of weight off his neck.
We like Layden the Dragon.
We love Layden. Layden, for a lot of people, is the last person or entity that you will finish conversation with in order to get the true ending, or the title drop, I should say.
And it is well worth it.
It's 100% worth it. The first time I saw it, I was ecstatic. I think I was like maybe 100 hours into the gameplay, and seeing the title drop at the end of the game was like, okay, you've done it. You've beaten the game. Congratulations. It's like the devs' way of saying, great job. You can restart the game now and endlessly retry it for faster times.
Yeah, I mean, or you could just keep going with New Game Plus.
Oh yeah, New Game Plus 64 or whatever you want to. For me, I restarted almost immediately to try to challenge run it. But I know a lot of people who have put hundreds or thousands of hours into this game, and they have gotten much, much further than me in terms of New Game Plus. I may have the speedrun world record for the full game categories, but I've never gotten past, I want to say New Game Plus like 8. So there are
that's what you need to get to the true ending, right?
It was. They actually changed it so that you can get the true ending on only New Game Plus 3 now.
Really?
It was a quality of life change that they added to the game after... basically after the 1.0 release, I think.
Oh wow.
What am I need to get to? So right now, this is the throne room, but I need to backtrack to get to that little room there, because that's going to be the white gate, where I insert this white key. It's actually called the Pearl and the Onyx key. I call them white and black because it's easier for me to remember, and I'm bad with gemstones or whatever they are. Rocks.
Fancy rocks.
Yeah, fancy rocks. If it looks like a rock, it's a rock to me. If it looks like a fancy rock, it's a gem to me. So I am not the person to ask about wedding bands.
See, the real thing is it's the speedrunner mentality. It saves a syllable.
The only information in my head is relative information. Which is actually why I asked Cabbage here to help me out, because I went through this game's 100%, probably over 2 years ago. It's probably been close to, it was 2021, I wanted to say.
You were an early adopter, huh?
Yeah, it was before the full 1.0 release that I actually did the 100%. So in terms of the lore, it's not really fresh in my mind. In opposition to that, Cabbage actually recently completed his 100% run for the first time.
Yes, and something I want to say, I'm not a speedrunner, okay? I'm not an expert gamer.
He has done a speedrun of this game.
Yes, I turned the house rules on, so I just want people to not feel like this game is so scary, because somebody like me can even, it takes a little longer, but you can still really enjoy this game even if you're not as great at video games as Detra here is. But he helped me out a lot when I was playing.
I love this game, and I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to come on here because I just want to get more people interested and have more people know about the game. It is surprising the number of people that I've talked to who have never heard of or played the game, despite how amazing it is, despite how much love was put into the game. It's just one of those hidden gems.
It really is.
And this is Layden.
He's our favorite.
Yeah, he's gonna eat us.
That's not why he's our favorite, though.
No, he is harboring a fugitive. For releasing him, we get to fight arguably most people's most annoying boss. I would argue it's my least favorite boss in the game. Not in terms of design, because the design for this boss is amazing, as are all of them.
Real.
But just in terms of overall moves, his moveset, he's the only boss in the game who spawns ads on top of fighting him, who are invulnerable for about 10 seconds before you can actually kill them off. And he doesn't spawn them once, but he can spawn them up to 4 times, depending on how nice he's being that day. Typically, he'll spawn them 3 times. This is the second here. And if you want to throw more RNG in the mix, because we with Metroidvanias roguelikes love RNG, the mobs that he spawns are not always the same. They're any one of the 4 hand enemy iterations. The ones he spawns so far have not been that bad. The hammers are our favorite. They're just a little bit of a zone control enemy. The daggers will pursue you or throw range projectiles. They're probably one of the least favorite. I don't like the shield enemies because they will charge you, and in the process of charging you, leave a projectile trail behind, making them probably even more annoying of zone controllers than the hammers. These guys are the fun ones.
Oh,
and you can also see the arena gets a little bit more hectic as we play. He spawns this ball that will constantly try to attack us and follow us. Then he'll spawn the saw blades on the wall. Luckily, he's almost gone. And luckily, I had 114 HP, so I was able to survive a single hit from this man.
Oh!
That was fun.
4 HP in a dream, dude. That was wild.
And now we get to do one of the more fun strats. Like I said, this route has changed over the years. What we used to do was we would just lock the rightmost heir to duelists so that we could always spawn with a duelist. A little bit into running this game. Oh wait, he's gonna take a nap.
Here we go.
We get to pet the dragon.
Oh.
Alright.
The little things, man.
So, one of the iterations that this run went through is we used to only lock our rightmost character to duelist so that we could spawn the duelist. One of the other things that I ended up doing when I started running the game, though, is also locking the spell at some point. There's a couple different spells that we ended up using. I actually settled on really enjoying the Lightning Storm spell. What it does is it allows you to... Make sure I don't screw up the shop here real quick. Alright. What it does is it allows you to always skill crit. Like I mentioned earlier, skill critting is something that you can only do under certain circumstances. Applying vulnerability is one of those, and there's two ways to do that, one with the shield, and the second is with Lightning Storm. So while our spell is not going to do much damage, it will apply a very volatile status effect that allows us to do a lot more damage, because we also increase our dexterity using this route. As opposed to, we used to just increase our intelligence and hope that we found a useful spell attached to our character that could give us a little bit more DPS. This is much more consistent, and the damage is, if we get good relics at the end game, you will see a noticeable improvement over the damage we were doing to Ball. And the other... I mentioned there were two mods that we use for quality of life. The first one is always being able to reroll the first air as much times as you want, so you don't have to waste 20 minutes looking for an air that you want to run with. The second one is a little mod that our buddy Taco cooked up that shows you the in-game time whenever you pause. You don't have a way to really track in-game time except for going to the quitting out and checking your time like in between when you need to quit out generally, or if you want to do it at a random time. With this, you don't need to quit out anymore, and you can see the pace that you're on for IGT directly from the game itself, which is very nice. If you want to talk a little bit about Jonah here as we finish him up.
Jonah is known as the Traitor. So he is one of the children of Lamech, the first boss you fight. And there was a rebellion which he was asked to take part in. So he had this very interesting situation where he was training the king's soldiers by day and training the rebels by night. But he fell in love with a character called Z, who, spoilers, is Maria the Pizza Girl. As a result, he told Lamech about the army coming so that he would save her life and the lives of others. But he did not take into account how many people she would have. So, in the end, he lost. Due to him, there's a lot of dead people.
He's supposed to be a good guy. Actually, most of the lore that you learn in the game is seen through his and Z's lens.
Yeah.
That was Jonah, the penultimate boss. Now we're going to be going to face our brother Cain for the final battle. Something that people may not know at all. Well, two things. The first is, if you have few enough heirs die at the beginning, they will have your character Sir Lee as the first heir. You did not play as Sir Lee, but this shows you all of the characters you went through. The second thing you may not know about is it takes you to this random room before you actually start the fight. You can actually hop in these windows and look for relics, which is something you were not able to do before, I think, like the 1 point something, like a later on patch release.
Oh.
Ooh.
Ooh.
It's gonna be fun.
Sword. That's gonna be fun.
Grab this too.
And Sir Lee is actually named after the creators of the game, brothers Teddy and Kenny Lee. So, shout out to them.
And the reason we got excited is because Mamon's Bounty is a random relic that allows you to it gives you a little bit of resolve. In return, it will give you 3 random relics. They can be absolutely terrible, they can kill a run, but they can also give you something very exciting, very powerful. And they did that in, unfortunately, in Ike's Sword, which unfortunately is a breakable relic. If I take damage, Ice Sword will no longer give me its damage bonus. But until then, it's a 150% damage multiplier, the biggest single damage multiplier you can get in the entire game. But you can see now we're doing 82 per strike with the duelist attack speed. Even though we don't have any damage relics, this is still quite a bit of DPS, especially for a level 40 character. So we're no slouch. We are missing a bit though, due to my slip up. That's okay. And one of the other relics we got was steel-toed boots, which applies armor break, giving us a bit more damage for endgame. But since we did lose there, you get to see the reason we grabbed Maria. And honestly, you can any number of reasons you can think to grab her. She's one of the best characters in the game. She gives you pizza instead of chicken sometimes. We only get her for time save, because she takes us immediately back to these rooms instead of having to go through the castle and go on this big long walk, so we can look for more relics more efficiently. Since every time we load into this room, we get to look at essentially 6 new relics. So we're gonna pop in here just a couple times, see if we can find anything that would make for a fun endgame fight.
You got histrionic.
Yeah, I'm super excited. We're going to be dealing 1 billion damage.
Yep. It makes you incredibly strong.
The histrionic trait makes it so that all numbers are exaggerated. So if you're doing 80 damage, it might look like 3,000. I really hope this works.
Oh boy.
I really hope this works.
I'm sure it's going to be interesting.
If not, we'll make it work.
So you're a clown with IBS.
Super IBS.
Super IBS. And the serrated handles bargain.
Yeah, so, okay. This is going to be interesting.
Cool. Yeah, this will be fun.
So Clown, like we mentioned at the start of the run, has a couple things. You can spin kick off of terrain, and you can... second thing. And you have reduced maximum health equal to 30% your max health. So you have 70% total max health right now. And the other thing that's unfortunate is the serrated bargain, the serrated handle bargain that we grabbed, doubles our DPS, but also doubles incoming damage. And Super IBS makes it so I don't have my invulnerability. It actually replaces my talent with a much more fun talent, giving me a little bit of a double jump, like an extra double jump. But, oh, that curved back in.
Oh.
But also taking away my invulnerability talent, making it just a little bit more lethal. The reason that we like Clown for endgame is because he has a fun strat that we can do for the final heirloom of the game after we beat the final boss. But hopefully we find something else.
Dance is good.
We'll take it.
Achilles shield. Achilles shield plus 10% damage when you're above 50% health.
Yeah, and the slippers give us plus 15% damage per stack of dance. The way you stack dance is by spin kicking off of enemies. Up to 5 stacks, giving us a total of 75% increased damage if we can manage to stay in the air for long enough. Which we're going to try to do here.
Okay, max stacks is good.
Alright, we should be good from here. He has 3 phases. The most annoying parts of the fight, honestly, are the transitions. The bullets that he shoots are pretty unpredictable, as well as they have strange, sometimes homing paths. For the most part, they're dodgeable, but as you saw, there's a couple times where they just don't do exactly what you expect. You end up running into them, or they'll just seek you out. But we should be good.
Okay.
So there was... that's the final boss of the game.
Let's go.
And there was one more thing that we grabbed earlier, along with the ability to lock our rightmost air and spell. And that is the ability to completely randomize our leftmost air, which hopefully we can do here to get a little bit of time save. There's a few things that you can get to save time with the randomized characters. But we're just going to stick with Ivy Canopy. It's simple. If you happen to get a form of flight, there's a few of them, but if you happen to get one of the forms of flight, you can save quite a bit of time off of endgame. And hopefully we're just around estimate for this. We did take a couple deaths there.
Looks like you got synesthesia. That's a cool one.
One of my favorite traits.
It's pretty.
And the reason that we took the Archer is because the Archer has Ivy Canopy, an ability that allows you to get a little bit of extra height via a deployable platform. Saves you time on a couple jumps because this entire heirloom is all about learning to use these stones. Giving you the power to activate them, raise platforms, etc., move platforms. And there's just a couple sections where just a little bit of extra height really saves you time. Couple strats we can do to ignore some of these. Unfortunately, we couldn't do the flight strat in this room, or the next room. But hopefully we'll get to show it off in the next run. Because there is a bit of glitchiness that we actually didn't highlight in this run. Involving specifically flight.
Oh yeah.
And we're coming up on time here. It's going to be as soon as we touch the big stone at the end. You'll know it when you see it. All right. And that's time.
Nice.
GG. Just about maybe 15 seconds over estimate, which I say is pretty good.
So close.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah, man.
And then something fun at the end is a parade of all of the enemies you defeated. Anything that's a question mark is something we didn't kill. So there's a few question marks. I'd say we got like 30% of the enemies, maybe 20.
Pretty good, pretty good.
And
so
IGT on that was probably around like 48.
So we will have enough time for what we've been calling the bonus run, the any percent seeded.
Awesome.
So while you go
go
ahead and get that set up, I'll do a couple of quick announcements, which is if you'd like to support GDQ Hotfix, if you're enjoying this content, first off, check out the 2024 Season 4 shirt at theyeti.com/agdq. That's Yeti Y.
Little nods to Christmas and stuff like that, all the winter stuff. There's actually a trait in the game that allows you to do the same thing. That trait gets removed from the pool, so it changes the trait that you spawn with. The way this is going to be different is we're going to be getting double of all of our relics through a trait that we acquire. That's why we needed to change our date and time, which should have worked. Let me double check to make sure I have the right error. I know where all the relics are, what's going to reroll into what, and what I'm going to expect out of the run in terms of like end game damage, stuff like that. So let's just see real quick if it is still on the winter event. Hypercoag. Okay.
Cool. Not cool.
Not cool.
Not cool.
Okay. All right. Now it should work. Other than that, this run does have flight, so we're going to be able to see the flight glitch in this run. The flight glitch allows you to pass through slopes as if they weren't there in the first place, making some cool time saves, some more noticeable than others, but we only used it a few times. Flight in general in this game is very cool. Oh, sorry, we should have started time when I hit Start New Legacy. And that's compulsive hoarder. Okay. The other thing that we're going to do in this run that's different from the regular run, or the regular any percent run, is we're not going to be doing anything with the mana since we're going to be running the entire game on a single character. The fastest way to complete the game is to play the entire game on a single character, have a bunch of damage and relics stacked on one character. Being 1 HP, unfortunately, is part of it, so it's a very volatile run. But if we do it correctly... Do we have issues?
I can't see your stream.
Of the game?
Yeah.
Is it working on GDQ or just local?
Can you guys see it? If it's just me,
on
then
GDQ, but not on Discord. It's okay if you want to continue, and we'll just watch a little bit behind.
Okay,
that's totally fine.
All right. That may be because the date and time change. I lost my train of thought, but there's a lot of cool stuff that you'll see in this run. Hopefully, at about 13 minutes into the run, I will be playing the entire rest of the run on 1 HP. The run's very volatile, so I may or may not die quite a bit, or be very susceptible to dying. So if that happens, we can move on to the next run, but hopefully it all works out. I've only finished this run a couple times, so we'll see. You'll also get to see the basically optimal run for the game if we ever got it in a random seed, which would be being able to beat the entire game front to back. No resets, one character, maximum damage, almost always 1 HP. And one of the reasons for the 1 HP is because there is a relic that we get within the game that gives you the most DPS or damage increase out of any one relic for your physical attacks, with the exception of the Ice Sword. Ice Sword will give you 150% bonus damage to all of your damage. The Raven's Ring that we're going to pick up, if you are at 0% Resolve or 1 HP, you will be able to deal 125% bonus physical damage per stack. And you can stack that ring up to 5 times. We're going to get 4 of those rings in this run for a total of 500% increased damage. Our base damage being 30, we're going to be looking at around 180 damage per swing before other multipliers, etc. And hopefully, if I do it correctly, you'll be able to see some of those bosses that took us 3-4 minutes to beat earlier a piece melt in less than 20 seconds. One of the things that I did in that first heirloom was I was able to get a bunch of height seemingly out of nowhere. That is one of the glitches that we discovered way back in, I want to say February, May of this year. It happened randomly during one of my runs and took us all of a day to figure out how exactly it happened and how to replicate it. It's not something you can do everywhere, but there are a few places you can set it up. That one's pretty replicable, so it's nice to use to skip a little bit of the platforming section there, save just a little bit of time if done correctly. We also have a second trait this run. Other than having double all of the relics that we're going to see, we also cannot see our HP. So you're going to have to trust me when I say I'm probably okay. And since I know everything that's coming up, it allows for some fun routing. For instance, I know that the fastest way to cross these first two rooms is to go on top, because these the inside of these rooms is very annoying to navigate. But I also know that none of the relics none of these rooms that you see are useful in any way, whether they be relics, talents, or otherwise. So we actually get to skip over the entire thing. And it just leads to a lot of fast platforming and Axis Mundi. One of my favorite parts of the run. Other than dealing 500 damage to a boss in a single hit.
Apologies. We have a couple of people in chat wondering how the resolve system works, if you want to dig into that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So up at the top left of the screen there, you can see it says 225%. That's going to be your base resolve, which is an allotment. Basically, think of it like a carrying capacity. Every relic is going to cost a certain amount of resolve, or you can think of it like a certain amount of weight against that resolve. And once you start to dip below 100% resolve, it will accordingly decrease your health to that percentage. So if I am at 50% resolve, then I have 50% of my maximum HP. When we get down to 0% resolve, we can keep taking relics as much as we want. We will stay at 0% resolve, but we will always be at 1 HP. And in this run, to optimize our damage, we do get down to 0 resolve around the 13-ish minute mark.
Things really start to heat up then.
We also get flight and invulnerability in the form of comet form, my personal favorite talent in the entire game. It allows for some of the most fun, not only movement, but also some of the most fun traversal of some of these rooms that you're going to see in the entire game. It'll take rooms that are typically super dangerous and basically trivialize them. Any room that you see that is a 1x1 or just a 1-block room, basically, you can guarantee traverse the entire thing with the time you have in comet form. And the room I dipped into earlier just for a second was the throne room. I needed to tag it so that I have its warp point. This is going to give us our double jump, and I will come back later when we have flights for a little bit of faster movement in the for the lilies that we need. So we don't have clowns, so no fancy movement here. This is basically going to be just your what your vanilla double jump heirloom is going to look like. With 1 or 2 missed skills. Black water in these rooms do not deal damage to you. You see us touching them a lot. There's a couple reasons for that. I touch the black water a lot to avoid damage if I know I'm going to take damage. But the other reason is it gives you something called early control, where there's and you'll see it here. You'll see we can move immediately if we touch black water while we're transitioning to a new room. Otherwise, our feet are kind of stuck in place for a second and we need to wait to spawn in. So anywhere that we can hit black water between room transitions, we will. There are a few places that's unintuitive or difficult, or you can't. But there's a lot of places where you can use the early control between rooms, between heirlooms. And this is Stygian Study. It's going to go by pretty quickly because just like that, we just got in here and we're already at the Void Dash heirloom. We're going to come back to Stygian Study afterwards for routing purposes because we do want to discover the rest of Stygian Study. However, in order to maximize our time in Stygian Study, we get something later in the run called a Monkey's Paw, which allows you to re-roll relics or weapons or talents up to a certain number of times. And to optimize the relics that we get from the run, we need that Monkey's Paw before we go through all of the rooms with the relics and talents that we're going to see in the rest of Stygian Study. So we're going to exit from here, go into the throne room, so that we have that warp point set, and then we're going to come back here later and finish it up. Make sure my health is topped off, even though it's not necessary. The next section, I would say, for the first minute or so is going to be the scariest section of the game, outside of Dry Lake, which is always scary. I've practiced it a few times. The real danger comes when we start fighting bosses at 1 HP. Hopefully we make it there just okay. If I do die before then, we do have a save state to check out just the boss rush. So I can throw that on for an attempt if I die early, but pretty confident we can make it there in this run. So right up here is going to be our throne room. And we're going to warp straight to Sun Tower. We'll warp back to the throne room later to finish Stygian Study, because it's the fastest warp point to get to the rest of the rooms we want to discover. And Sun Tower, like I mentioned earlier, has the ability to just be very tall and vertical. You get to see that here in a couple of chambers. This is one of the longer rooms, or one of the taller rooms, I should say. We're going to dip in here. This is where we get our Monkey's Paw. And if I were to take any damage along this this route, there are 2 apples that aren't out of the way at all if I needed to grab them for HP. Typically, though, it's pretty safe. That's the first one. And the second one is outside. We're going to reduce our max HP right after this anyways, though, so we won't bother picking it up. Oh, look at that. So going into that throne room will allow us to warp to it later, so we can exit out immediately from there and continue our exploration. And the rest of this is going to be pretty much just a little bit of collection. So if you wanted to talk at all about the game or more of its lore, feel free, Cabby. It's going to be probably 3 minutes here.
All right, so let's see. Now that Raven's Ring is pretty good. Every point under resolve, you get an extra point of damage, isn't it?
It's, yeah, 1% per point of resolve, you're under 125%. So at 0, you get 125% physical damage per Raven's Ring stack.
So now you're 50% under 125. So you have 2 of them. So you have plus 100%. So you're dealing double damage.
Right now, I'm dealing double damage physically, and it's going to drop a lot faster. And this is going to be the first flight glitch. And the way that works is if you are, if there's a slope that would not allow you to stand on it normally, the way you pass through it is 1, be flying, and 2, press straight down on either your keyboard or your control stick, D-pad, whatever it is. The game just tries to make sure that you're not inside of a wall, but it only checks for you actually actively trying to move into the wall. So long as you're not pressing left or right, the game will say, okay, he's just falling. And it'll allow you to, so long as you're in some form of flight, basically drop through the floor or wall or wherever you are. And we're going to use it 2 more times, 1 for each of these key relics. This first one, we can just fly up here. We get right inside this room instead of traversing through the entire middle of it. That one saves probably the most time out of all of the flight glitches. And this next one is going to be not as dramatic.
So you've got 4 Raven's Rings now at
Yes.
0% resolve. So where does that leave you?
1 HP. You can't see it, but we definitely still have 1 HP. And total damage, 500%. So currently, our basic attacks, not including any other DPS increases, is 180 damage. So essentially, we can one-shot anything that we see that's a normal enemy right now. Maybe there's some enemies that can survive it just a little bit. If we crit, though, I'm pretty sure we killed pretty much everything in 1 hit. The bosses are a little bit tougher, so we're just going to take a little extra precaution, grab an ice sword. We mentioned this earlier, but this guy gives 150% damage, and these are all additive, not multiplicative. So 150% gets added on top of the 500%. So right now we have 650% increased damage before other bonuses. The other things we grabbed were Boxing Bell, 2 of them, and Obelisk, 2 of them. I mentioned Obelisk earlier. It gives you super crit chance to the tune of 20% per stack. The Boxing Bell, and that's only if you're skill critting. The Boxing Bell gives you 2% bonus damage for each stack, up to 30%, or up to 30 total stacks. When you get to 15 stacks, you will start to skill crit on every single attack, basically allowing you to play to super crits. So by the end of this run, if we can get there, we will have 100% super crit chance and 4 stacks of Boxing Bell. And each stack of Boxing Bell will give you a stack of combo every time you auto attack. So with 4 Boxing Bells, it'll be 4 stacks. So after the 4th attack, you will always skill crit. Right now we have to hit 8 times in order to get that. But luckily, the bosses we're going to be facing here allow us to just keep that super crit, or that skill crit stacked as much as we want in between all of their phases. So hopefully we don't drop combo for the rest of the run outside of the mini bosses. They move around a lot. And you can see when we skill crit, we're doing around 300 damage. When we super crit, the pink numbers, we're doing around 450. So we want to super crit as much as possible in this run, which is why we want to get to 100% super crit chance later on. It is the biggest damage multiplier you can get from pretty much anything in the entire game, is to super crit.
if math isn't your suit, then basically what's happening is he could poke an enemy and they will just disintegrate.
Yeah, so the numbers that you see, the 300, the 400, earlier we were doing, if my memory serves correctly, 30?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so right now we're doing 10 to 15 times our base damage. And for most of these bosses, you'll see them get 1 attack off, maybe 2 if they're lucky. A lot of them are only living a little bit longer because of their transitioning phases, during which they only take 1/10 of the normal damage you would deal to them. So you saw the hits for 33 and 40, 44. That was 1/10 of our overall damage, which ironically is still more than our base damage per attack. And this is Murmur. This is the boss, one of the 2 bosses I've died the most on in practice for this, because his patterns are completely unpredictable. Whether he throws the line of orbs, the one with the gaps in between, or the void, which you have to dash through. So there's been a lot of times where he's caught me jumping or flying, ending my invulnerability, and then getting a lucky kill. But we are doing all the bosses front to back. So this is the fun point in the run, where basically a few minutes ago the game turned into a boss rush. We have almost everything on the map unlocked. Our only goal is to go from point A to point B, kill a boss, repeat until they're all dead. And my least favorite part of the run is dipping back into Dry Lake after we've beaten a rod. So we got 2 more bosses until we get there.
And the gong heads have really interesting lore.
I didn't
like the rest of them.
Go ahead.
You're supposed to kill? They have interesting lore. See, they're called gong heads because they hit their head like a gong.
Is that why?
Probably, right?
Oh, okay. We don't know.
It's gotta be. Because, they hit their head and those the vengeful spirits or whatever they're called come out.
I'll be honest, I've never looked at their attack that closely. I didn't notice. So this is a
don't know why
rod.
they called it.
We did die to him earlier. Unfortunately, he can't get more than 1 attack off here, so he doesn't get to play the game. And the really unfortunate thing about this whole setup is your combo will fall off after a certain number of seconds of not attacking an enemy. So Enoch actually gets to be one of the only bosses that we cannot, no matter how hard we try, keep combo throughout the fight. Doesn't mean we're not going to try. But unfortunately, he does hard stop us with his second phase. Or, I guess because of his second phase. Looks like I'm only working with 1 earbud, too. Hopefully that wasn't the earbud where your guys' audio was coming through.
No, I still hear you, but it wouldn't be Perilous Paths without a couple of handicaps, so you're all good.
I can still hear the game, so it's okay.
There you go.
And that was 5 of the 6 bosses. Now on to my least favorite part. These hands fights are absolutely killer.
I'm just gonna take a moment to advocate that every game needs to include super crits. Like, this is the first time I've heard of a super crit, and I love it. I want it in everything. I don't know how it's gonna work, but I'm all about the glass cannon.
You're charging already. We did not take the sun lantern, so I can't see anything right now, but that's okay. I'll just intuit their attacks. The way super crit works in this game is you have what's called a skill crit, which I've already explained. The skill crit, unfortunate. That'll be the end of the run. But the super crit has a 0.5% chance of your standard critical chance to apply. So the knight has a 5% base crit chance. So your main or your first initial character has a 2.5% chance to skill crit or super crit. But yeah, that was the seeded run. There was just a few more bosses, but that is typically where it ends. Staying above the ground is, or staying off the spikes is not easy in that fight.
Well, no worries. Let's go ahead and we have one more run. And so you, Detra, are going to be sticking with us, but Cabbage, I know that you have to hop out. So if you want to go ahead and give any shout outs, talk about where people can follow you, and then we'll take a quick break while we set up the next game.
Hi, my name is Chinese Cabbage Farmer, all one word. You can check me out on Twitch at Chinese Cabbage Farmer. I'm really grateful to Detra for having me here. I highly recommend checking him out on Twitch. He's a really good guy. And this game is also good. Not as good as Detra, but you know, he's great. The game's good, okay?
I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you having me, and good luck on 8 Doors.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Cabbage. We're going to take a quick break while we set up. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Perilous Paths. My name is Cutie, and I'm here with our runner today, Detra. Before we get into the next game, I do want to just make a quick announcement to let you know that Back to Black 2025, the upgrade to UBAF, will be live February 6th to 9th here on the Games Done Quick Twitch channel, benefiting Race Forward. Catch the action and support an incredible cause. Type !BTB in chat to see the event schedule. And if you want to find out more about all the black speedrunning community, I'm sorry, the copy is a little weird. Type !BAF in the chat channel. But with that, let's go ahead and switch it back to Detra to do another run of 8 Doors, Arum's Afterlife adventure. I'm super excited to see this. I've had a lot of interest in this game for a little while, so why don't you tell us what we're getting into, and we'll go ahead and get started.
Yeah, for sure. So the run itself is pretty straightforward. There were a couple skips that we found while running it a couple months back that allowed us to push the world record a little bit further than the previous. It was really fun to get to know, and the reason I started the game was because I had some interest in it. I had a lot of similar categories that I really enjoyed, and I decided that I should pick it up while it was on sale. This game frequently goes on sale for like only a few bucks, so definitely worth the time. It's got more than, I'd say, 20 hours of content easily. A lot of mini bosses, side stuff that you could do, 100%. The game is really, really fun.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and get into it, and we can talk about it a little bit as we go.
Yeah, for sure. Timing starts in 3, 2, 1, go. So the game itself starts out with your main character basically falling upon this tragedy. Her entire village has been taken by a mysterious series of heart attacks. Out of nowhere, there was no real cause for them, and she was given the opportunity to find these 2 gentlemen who can get her into the afterlife. So she comes to them with her grief and asks if they will allow her to cross over. So she's ferried out into the middle of the ocean. And these gentlemen assist her into the afterlife while watching over her body in the physical realm.
I'm really loving these cutscenes. I'm assuming we can't skip them as part of the speedrunning tech, but like the artwork is incredible.
No, this is not as bad as like Super Mario 64, but it's I think like 40 seconds of unskippable cutscene. But the artwork in this game is beautiful, and there's also a lot of mashing in this game, which you have different techniques for mashing. I like to roll the controller like this, but that'll come in handy later. So if you see me vigorously shaking, that's what that is. The text in this game basically has almost no frame delay on being able to not only populate the text box, but then clear it. So if you mash really fast, then you get to get past all this dialogue really quickly. Some of the dialogue is skippable. Any boss intro is not skippable. So when I'm not mashing, you'll notice that there's no prompts, no A press or anything. So we won't be able to get through that. The game starts out with a tutorial telling you you're basically a little girl that doesn't belong in the afterlife. That was Soul. He's going to be a recurring character for the game. And he's basically assisting us throughout the run, just making sure we're okay. He gave us the ability to use the sword. So at the start of the run, he seems like a good guy. You'll see later on that he's working with a bad guy, and all the troubles that come along with that. This is Duocroak. He is a frog that sits on our head that protects us and also allows us to ride him later. It won't be too long before we can do that. And once we do get that ability, he is going to be our fastest mode of transport. He has a larger hitbox, so it makes dodging attacks and such harder to maneuver around as him. But he has slightly more movement speed and slightly higher jump height, which will be useful.
Now, I think a question on everyone's mind is, are there super crits?
In this game, unfortunately, there is not super crits, but there is something called combo attack. Every attack or every weapon is going to have some sort of combo, allowing you to chain attacks together, which give you more successive damage on each attack. So the first attack, if it were to deal, say, 30, the second attack will deal maybe 60, and then follow that up by like double that again, so 120. So the more 2 or 3 hit combos you can chain together, the more DPS you will deal. And this is where we have our transformation now. But the frog does not get any combo attacks, unfortunately, so hitting an enemy with our tongue is not going to be the most effective way to clear rooms or kill enemies. And every weapon is going to have a different number of combos and also different damage attached to them. So the different weapons that we use throughout the run are going to be determined by whichever weapon has either the most convenient ability or highest DPS at the time. I'm going to take a safety save just in case. This is right outside the first boss room. And this is how we're introduced to specters. Basically, any soul who has traveled to the afterlife and lost its way, they're kind of like rebel souls. And they are the main bosses of the game. Every boss that we fight is going to be some form of rebel soul outside of like 1 or 2. And there are points in time, since the damage stacks up on each successive hit, where I will greed for taking damage to deal a little bit more. There are other times where I'll just take accidental damage like that. And most of these bosses are going to have 2 phases. They'll always have an invulnerability transition. And their attacks change once they do. They'll either change or modify once they go into phase 2. And I got hit by that same attack like 3 times, so I'm surprised I didn't die there.
Yeah, it almost looked like he was reading your inputs or something. As soon as you dodge roll, just turned around.
The timing is just a little bit longer than you think it is. And this is going to be the Death Tavern. This is where every soul goes. First place they go when you pass, and they will await their judgment here. We're looking for our father's soul, as is the mission of the game. So we come here first. They tell us that your father is not here. Go to the observatory. They can find lost souls, or they can find locate any soul in purgatory. So we're going to go to the observatory now. She equipped us with a few things. One of them is a gourd that gives us access to sin. A little bit of a white meter there you see on the below our health bar. That allows us to access special attacks, which is what you saw with the scythe there, allowing us to reap souls and collect them for use later. That leads directly into the Thurible, which is an item used to collect souls. It can hold up to 4 of them, and if we deposit 4 of them, we get 2 skill points and 100 gold, which we're going to be depositing twice in this run. The last thing she gave us is the substitute, or if you've ever seen Bleach, it's like a substitute Soul Reaper badge. The way it works is it allows us access to travel around Purgatory freely, but it also allows us to gain different abilities. It's called a nameplate. So whenever they modify our nameplate, we'll get a new ability. This one was Air Dash. We're going to pick up a soul here before we continue, because we do need a certain number of souls in order to get a certain number of skill point upgrades optimally in this run. So we're just going to pick them up as we go.
It has to be a particular soul. It's not like any enemy or anything will do. It's more like a collectible.
Correct. So there are lost souls. Basically, they're not evil or anything. They're just scared and alone, and we need to take them back to the Death Tavern so they can be judged. Which is why we're being paid for this, because they don't have enough people down here to do their own work. So
I always love the games and the shows and things where like death and the afterlife is a bureaucracy. Like I think there's like Death's Door has that, and some other games. Like I've always loved that concept of like just processing the paperwork of death and stuff like that.
I think that Death's Door had one of the best. Like I think it was one of the first games that really introduced that like cute chibi art style into dealing with the afterlife, and also the common trope of death is just this bored or lazy individual of he's just trying to run the place and he can't really do it efficiently.
Right, the classic like Grim Fandango kind of thing.
Yeah. So we went to the observatory, we got Air Dash, but we also got a piece of information. Your father is not here, but we did potentially see his soul up in the forest. So we're going to be traveling there next. We can't get there yet. We do need to collect a weapon to traverse to that point. So we're going to be here and go into our perk tree, grab a dash speed increase. So our air dashes are a little bit faster now. They're going to be just a little bit faster than dodge rolling in terms of movement speed now. So whenever we can, we will try to air dash, although being in the air makes it a little bit tricky to move around, so wherever we can. And this will be our second boss of the run. Now, with access to our special abilities, we do gain an increase in damage through those special abilities. The Scythe's bonus attack is one of the highest burst damage options that we get for the entire game. So we will use it whenever we can, and weave in those 3-hit combos whenever we can. Should be phase transition. Cool.
Easy.
So that one is probably the easiest boss fight in the run. One of my more favorite boss fights is coming up next, and it has to do with, the reason is because of one of the interactions that it has with the weapon that we get here. This weapon allows us to deflect projectiles, which is how we get past these guys, because they're shy. Whenever we get too close to them, they'll kind of hide away. But with this guy, we're able to shoot their projectiles back at them, and that is the interaction as to why I love this this next boss we'll be fighting. So we're gonna make a little bit of a detour. Go ahead.
You have to hit those back to them. You can't like deboost through them or anything else.
No. So the enemies themselves are solid hitboxes that you can't pass through. You can't dodge through them. There's no sort of damage boost or anything. So if you don't have access to the Keto Sword early on, then you just won't be able to pass through them. And this is one of the only games that I've seen where even if you get past, say you skip something that's important, the game has the most invisible walls I've ever seen of it in a video game. It will, if you're somewhere that you shouldn't be or physically cannot get to, there will just be an invisible wall stopping you from progressing to the next point until you clear a like a hidden flag. And this game also has a couple of cool glitches. One of them is going to be one that we do in this run. One of them, somebody has figured out how to basically perform the Legend of Zelda ISG glitch in this game, but doesn't know exactly how. So I've yet to be able to replicate it for the run, but this game definitely has potential to save a lot more time than we're already saving. The other glitch that we're going to be exploiting is the fact that now that we can wall hang, or bounce off the side of walls, wall jump, you can either bounce off the side of a wall as one of two characters, either Arum, or you can do it as Dukroak, just depending on what form you're in. The reason that matters is because Dukroak's hitbox, like I mentioned before, is slightly bigger than Arum's, and it leads to a really funny interaction later on that we'll be able to see. That saves quite a bit of time. I think the final skip that we discovered with this glitch ended up saving probably close to, I want to say 5 minutes for the one skip we do in the endgame. But it won't be relevant until later. We want to grind up to 100 coins here because this is going to be the first time we, first and only time we purchase anything in the run. So hopefully the enemies cooperate here. These flies will sometimes spawn anywhere from 0 to 2 coins. So if I get lucky, I can kill a fly here and get the remainder. And they disappeared in the water. Lovely. We'll get them somewhere else. Okay. Now that we have 100 coins, we can buy the only 2 purchases we're going to make in the entire run. We'll get 100 more for depositing these souls we've been collecting. So in total, we're looking at 200 gold. We can increase the amount of health our potions heal and our total maximum health. Both are very, very useful in the run.
I like how we're just gonna gloss over and run past whatever that ghost dragon fox thing was.
So this game is called 8 Doors, and those are essentially the doors between dimensions. We're able to warp space and travel through these doors to get from one area to the other. And there's 8 of these doors appropriately across the entire map. They all link to each other, so we use them for just overall traversal. And that guy, he's got an interesting story, but he's more of just an enigma. He speaks in a way that makes it seem like he shouldn't be there, and neither should we. But he doesn't say anything really of substance. A lot of just very, very vague suggestions of being very important, or that we are insignificant.
And does that pan out, down the line, or it's just kind of something that's there?
Well, in the end of the game, we actually save Purgatory, so I think that we're more significant than he believes we are. And I
feel like we should be narrating these boss intro cutscenes.
I would, but I don't want to butcher the names. There's so many of them.
That's fair.
Daradamini? Something. We're just going to get a couple of upgrades real quick, increasing our attack speed. And this is why I love this boss. His second phase has a single attack that is fully projectiles. He launches about 5 in your face. And if you time it correctly, you can actually deflect every single projectile back at him, getting a lot of bonus damage off. The Keto Sword is going to be the most DPS we have for active attacks, whereas, again, the DPS or burst damage from this guy, and that's the attack we're looking for. The damage from our Scythe special is going to be our biggest burst damage whenever we have the ability to use it. And we're just going to damage tank a little bit, and he's dead. So, these are spirits that are corrupted. He's not actually a bad guy, but you'll see through the text boxes that I just skipped, he basically explains he was out of control. He's surprised we were able to deal with him. And then he gave us this bow. So something is happening to the souls to corrupt them. I make them go on rampages, trigger anger, things like that. And that's going to be all the bosses that we're fighting. You saw Soul appear there for a short bit. He's basically checking in, trying to figure out what we're doing or how our adventure is going. And the other information that we got is your father's soul was here, but it no longer is. And we are given a new location to check. So there's a lot of that in this game where we are simply running around, basically playing tag with wherever our father's soul might be.
This is actually
hop into this dimension
enough, giving me kind of like a Bridge of Spirit vibes with the sort of the plot line and getting and the different upgrades you're getting. I think you get a bow in that game as an upgrade after you beat a spirit boss who's been enraged. So I'm kind of seeing some similarities here.
Interesting. I haven't played that one. The most interesting part about this game, aside from the beautiful art style, is going to be the Korean folklore that they throw into the game. This is all based around what I believe is just the process of the afterlife for Korean folklore. Part of that being at the beginning of the game, they'll say that there used to be no doors between the afterlife or purgatory and the land of the living. At one point, they put up barriers so that they weren't able to travel freely between them, and that is how we get to the world that we're in today. The overall story also points to corruption within purgatory. The shifty-eyed guy with glasses called Oxy that we see is kind of trying to run things behind the scenes. There is a very low energy, I think it's King Yama, who's supposed to be watching over Purgatory, and he's trying to usurp him through a couple methods of corrupting him to make him more lazy and unfit as a king or a ruler. and also soiling his relations with different people in Purgatory. All while creating all of the problems of Purgatory. All these rebel souls that are running around are basically things that he's letting loose. He is not only doing that, he had Soul, who he is working with, steal the directory, so they can't tell if souls are missing. Just all kinds of main bad character stuff. There is a surprise ending for him, though, that we'll get to later. From a character that if you play this game through start to finish, you may not even see this character. They show up once at the beginning of the game, and then all of a sudden, if you aren't like looking for secrets and stuff, they're just there at the end of the game, like, I was the villain the whole time. But there are a couple places where you can interact with them and figure out a little bit more of their character. So the upgrades that we've gotten so far in this run are, one was just attack speed, the other allows us to dash faster. The third important one that we grabbed actually led to a routing change when I started running this game, and that is the ability to use your power punch as the frog downward. Couple shortcuts that open up that allow you to traverse much more quickly. All in all, the time saves were around like 30 seconds, 25 seconds for a couple areas, but very, very useful. Definitely worth taking a little bit of extra time to get those perk points. And the routing that we're doing right now is to finish off the second deposit we need. Since the routing that I initially did actually cut out, or I guess added to the perk points we were spending, I needed to reroute so that we actually picked up more perk points to compensate. So the route changed a little bit and basically turned into where can I pick up enough fugitive souls conveniently without losing too much time. And this is the product of that. So we're not going too far out of our way for anything here.
So how much of this run is gated behind abilities or other things in standard Metroidvania, or is it fairly straightforward, kind of like linear in nature?
Very linear. Everything that you do will lead to the next area via an ability, a weapon, or something else that would allow you to travel there. You have to hit all the plot points, so there's not too many skips. The skip that I mentioned at the end that saves 5 minutes is purely because you have basically everything you need to beat the run. Even though we're missing some key abilities, neither of them are actually necessary to finish the game. So we'll touch on those later. But that is basically a point in the game where you've broken your nameplate. Every ability you've collected so far is gone. You need to go to a bunch of other Guardians of Death and have them restore your nameplate to you so that you can confront the big bad and beat the game. So there are a couple of those nameplate regrabs that we're going to skip at the end. And it's not because they're not necessary, but there are a couple of like in-game mechanics that allow you to, well, and glitches that allow you to traverse without needing them. So this is the only weapon in the game that we get that doesn't actually directly lead to us gaining a new ability. It's basically made to make you money. It will, if you use the special, it'll drop a couple coins. So just a little bit more useful for farming. But this weapon does have not only a 2-hit combo, but some of the highest DPS in the entire game. So when we can, we'll be using it for the rest of the run for our main damage source. And what we're coming up on here is going to be our double jump. Everybody's favorite ability in any Metroidvania.
It's interesting that he has like his own kind of workshop thing going on, because everything else has been kind of spirits and different things, and this guy's actually like building stuff.
Yeah, he's just a mole with tech. He's people don't bother him much. He doesn't bother us, but he is definitely one of the more useful NPCs. And actually, my favorite NPC is going to be coming up a bit later. You saw him a bit in the beginning. He was kind of just hanging out in Death's Tavern, not really doing much, playing on what seemed to be a Nintendo Switch, not a plug. And he basically just spends the entire game playing on handheld devices, not really contributing much, but telling you how amazing he is. And that is why he's one of my favorite characters.
It would be great if every time you saw him, it was something different. It was a Game Boy, a PSP, like a Vita. Like every time it's a different console.
Just no consistency. And we will see him later during another important NPC's cutscene that gives us another ability. And there's a little bit of an Easter egg in that scene where, and you'll see it later, but they're playing a video game on television, and the video game they're playing is a fighting game, like a standard 2D fighting game. But the characters that they're playing as are characters that we've already interacted with / fought in the game.
Okay. Maybe a spoiler for an upcoming game. Maybe they're gonna make like a Rivals of Aether type thing with all the main characters from this. Now I've seen you run into a lot of invisible walls. Is there a way that you're supposed to find those normally, and you just kind of know where they are, or it's just like run into every wall and pray you find something?
So a couple ways you're supposed to find them. The first and foremost is there is a character who, if you played Hollow Knight, you'll know the map maker. There is a character that gives you a map for each area in this game, and it will show you where all the important things are. So if you find the map guy, you buy the map from him, you're able to see all the important points, even if they're not directly visible. So you can kind of guess, like, I'm in this room. If I go here, I should find something. And then you'll just poke around a bit, find out, oh, there's invisible walls. And then you can kind of just go from there. There's some... You are in the most annoying position. Okay. Enemies have solid hitboxes, so I can't actually get past him when he's there. The only way you can get past them is through dodging. Dashing does not have iframes, unfortunately. So I would just run into him if I tried to pass him. And we are coming up on our second deposit and final deposit. We're going to get our last perk of the game, which is increasing our attack damage. And then we're going to quit back out.
And what are some of the other perks that you're skipping? Is there any like special abilities, movement, tech, anything that like you've routed around but is kind of interesting to talk about?
Yeah, so one of the abilities that you could get is the ability to dash after your double jump, essentially giving you 2 dashes in the air. Interesting for movement, but the amount of points you need to perk into that are quite a few, just because the way the tree is worked out. One of the other abilities that we could get is increasing your special damage, but we've been upgrading the left side of the tree. The right side of that same tree would allow us to get more special damage, but it would also cost another 10 points because you need to get everything leading up to it in order to grab it. There's also one that allows you to essentially... We'll just take that hit. I'm sure it's fine. There's also another one that allows you to traverse through the toxic water without taking damage, which is nice, but it's also not necessary, as most of the water that we encounter like that is completely optional areas. And there's a really fun one for people who like to see damage numbers. If you use a special on a boss, you can see their health bar. So there's a lot of little things that allow you to interact with the game or experience it in different ways. And they're all really, really unique and cool. We just stick to the damage options because nothing else is really optimal for routing to different perk points or anything like that. So this is going to be our main damage weapon for the run. We're not going to use it during the next boss for a reason I'll get to in just a second. But it is a 2-hit combo that deals a lot of damage. So whenever we can use it, we will. Oh, so close.
Oh, unlucky.
Yeah, the hit I took apparently mattered. Funny enough, the reason I started running this game was because there is an achievement for the game. Beat the game in under 3 hours. I did that, and then I checked the world record for it. There were only like 4 or so runs, maybe 5. But the run that I saw that was world record at the time had a death in it. And I'm like, oh, okay, so if I just don't die, maybe I can just beat the record. We ended up doing that on my stream, and then we ended up beating it. But with all the routing changes and things that we did, there was still a death in that run. So this game, despite having gone through almost 10 minutes of time save, or more than 10 minutes of time save, still has a lot of time to be saved.
And that's like the traditional runner's journey on a new game, right? Like you work really, really hard to finally get that deathless run, and then some glitch or something comes out that shortens the game, and now you gotta do it again, and then it changes,
Absolutely.
You gotta do it again. I feel like I've had to do that with a number of games where it's like, finally I did it without dying. Oh god, I found a new glitch, I gotta do it all over again.
And the worst part about that is it was so hard to do the first time, and with the new glitch, it makes it harder. Luckily, the glitches we found in this are not, they're actually only time saves. You can opt into one of them, fail the trick for over 2 minutes, and still save time because of how much time it cuts off the end game. And it's pretty easily explained with what we've seen already in the game. Basically, every time you fight a boss, you are locked into an arena with them. When the boss is defeated, there's a small cutscene. You get something from it, and then you're able to go free and do whatever else you were going to do. So, wrong way. So for the skip that we're going to be doing, I can actually explain it now. Since wall climbing has different sizes for hitboxes between Arum and the frog. You have some platforms that are breakable from the top or removable from the top. Platforms that you saw earlier, like the one where I punched down to break it, or platforms that can be moved with a lever. These platforms are kind of semi-solids, but only if you put your hitbox in just the right place. So basically, there's just going to be a couple points in the run where it looks like something's blocking us, but it's really just a suggestion, so long as we're able to perform this.
That's interesting. The waterfall hurt you there. Was it like really cold?
Yeah, the waterfall actually, funny enough, is an invisible wall. One of the reasons that we can't do this game without the umbrella is because if you try to even roll through the waterfalls, you can't. You'll roll into the waterfall, be stopped, and then take damage because you're touching it afterwards. Which is it's so much fun. But yeah, it's either way too cold for us, or just the pressure of actually walking through a waterfall, which is what I believe is is stopping us, is we just, as a human, are not built to withstand that pressure, and so we will we'll just take damage as one would. And this guy is going to give us one of the more fun abilities. It allows our little frog buddy to jump really high. It also allows us to break blocks that are above our head. This is comboed later on with another ability that allows us to do the same thing off of walls. But for now, this is all we can do. Only used in a couple places. Like I mentioned before, these ceilings are suggestions, so we'll see if I can get this. All right, so what you want to do is line your head up so that it's touching the ceiling, and then when you start to wall pling, immediately transform into the frog. It'll displace you into the wall, and then you can kind of just jump through. It's annoying to do here because these projectiles are constantly being thrown at you. But it saves much more time later on. Because the boss arenas that I mentioned, you can actually skip 2 of them, as well as some just overall traversal. Actually, it's more than 2. We skip 1, 2, 3 boss arenas in late game, saving over 5 minutes, because of a second skip that we combined with the first skip that we found. Ironically, the first skip that we found is a harder skip. There's another one that we can do later on using a damage boost. And the skip is as simple as taking damage and then jumping to get somewhere we're not supposed to be. We're going to take the Liberty Heal here. And this is going to be the only fight in the game where we don't opt to use the club, the baseball bat. The reason being, he just doesn't let us. There's an attack that he does frequently where he will make a hailstorm out of nowhere, and the only way to dodge damage from it is the same as with the waterfalls, where we have to use the umbrella. So if we don't constantly have the umbrella out, we actually don't even have the reaction time in the second phase of the fight to switch to it and then block. So we're forced to kind of just fight with it the entire time. Luckily, the DPS from the umbrella is pretty good. It's got a 4-hit combo, 2 swipes followed by 2 stabs.
I actually didn't even realize it was a weapon. I thought it was just a traversal mechanic.
It is. There's a couple weapons that are necessary to traverse, but also are a weapon themselves. This is one of them. The Kita was the first. The other one is literally just a lantern. Swings a lot like the club, but does much less damage than the club. So we're only going to use it for a little bit of light later on. And just in case I screw this up, we're going to get our way back just a little bit faster. And this boss is a hoot. I think this boss and the boss that I just faced previously are my 2 biggest death points in the run. Mainly because their timing. The timing on the one that we just fought, you saw, has a dash attack that has very awkward timing. This one has differences in timing based off of where he puts his hands. If he puts his hands directly over his head, you dodge immediately. If he puts his hands behind his head but they're bent, then you have to stall your dash, like that. The other one comes out very quickly, and it's a 2-swipe, so we can't get too much DPS in. And this attack is the best one. takes a long time to come out, and the telegraphs on the ground make it very, very easy to read. You can basically just wait until they're falling on top of your head, and then dodge roll, and you'll almost never take damage. And the hail comes out a lot faster in the second phase. And that's the fifth boss.
Making it look easy as usual.
He gives us the lantern, the other weapon that will not be used except for by traversal. Actually, there is one more. The fun thing about this game is the majority of the unlocks are tied behind weapons. They're not only weapons, but they also allow you to traverse. So the Keto sword allows you to use deflection. The umbrella allows you to... the umbrella allows you to not only float, but also dodge basically any projectiles from above. The light is required to clear, and it's the only place in the game that it requires this. But there is a solid black shadow that only disappears if you have the lantern. You only see it once. It's like a check to make sure that you have it before you enter, and you never see it again. There's not another entity like it or anything. It's just a one-time thing at the start. And then you have a fan that will adjust some turbines to make it so that you can go through some spike gates. So as opposed to like a traditional Metroidvania where you only get movement options, you actually get both in this game, where you get movement options, and you also get ability checkpoints through weapons. And I will say routing this game was extremely fun. There are so many little things hidden around the map that could help you, whether it be souls that you can grab, or extra ability points just laying around. So routing for the number of ability points that I wanted to get with the run was very, very fun. There's a lot of little like hidden guys that are just tucked away. You can just pick and choose, kind of.
And how active is the routing community for this game? Is it something that you're still into? Is there a Discord for it? If somebody's watching this and wants to get involved, is there a good way to do that?
Yeah, so not only the CDG Discord for Rogue Legacy 2, but the 8 Doors Discord. I will say the CDG Discord is much more active. There's only a few people who have routed this game and have run it. Whereas CDG Discord, whether it be casual or speedruns, they are very, very active. There's pretty much people in there all the time talking about the different runs that they've done, posting like PBs with massive gold totals, things like that. The 8 Doors community is fairly small. And here you'll notice the guy that gave us the Keto weapon earlier is fighting the pig that we fought earlier. Kind of signifying the battle. Funny enough, the sides of the screen as well kind of dictate that the Keto warrior did end up losing, and he did end up passing. That's why we got his sword to continue. So showing not only that that they were fighting each other, but also that he probably lost and lost his life to the pig warrior that we fought. But also showing again how the guy who loves his video games and likes to talk a lot is not very good at them because he was losing. But I'm sure on their 700th match he might get the win. As for current...
The enemy design is really top notch. I don't know what's going on with those rat fish things, but I'm here for it.
The art direction in this game was amazing. Everything is so expressive. So the lantern that we're using is only to light up down here now. We don't actually need it to progress anymore. But it's nice being able to see what's hitting me as opposed to not. So we're going to keep it on for most of the running around. We don't actually need it for the entire thing. Sometimes we use the parasol to float a little bit. But aside from that, there's really not much going on in terms of fighting. So, like in Rogue Legacy 2, we're pretty much going to pass everything without doing any extra combat, with the exception of earlier when we needed to get the 100 gold at the start of the run.
Will the game shame us at the end with nothing but question marks?
No. The game has one ending. It would be fun to see. There was a game last year. Last year? I think so. Pizza Tower, that would tell you how well you did if you beat it. It'll tell you this is the percentage. It'll tell you if it was approved by Snotty and if it was approved by John, Pillar John. I think that was one of like the most fun end screen things I've seen from a game. Which is also very fun in that game because you can accidentally kill Snotty like 9.9 times out of 10 and not even realize that he has an ending if you don't kill him. Because he looks like any other enemy, and he dies in one hit. So you kind of just run through him, not thinking about it. And then you figure out that he has an alternate ending.
Is there a hitbox for the dashes that you're doing here? Like you're breaking the wall, but I see you're dodging the things that are jumping out of the water. Can you dash through those, or it's not gonna hit those?
No, you. If you're dashing, doing the jump or the jump off the wall, you do take damage. So we have to play around the enemies and other active hitboxes. Makes this next part a little bit annoying because there's a lot of times where, well, if I have full health, which I do right now, I'm going to try to actually skip some of the hitboxes or skip through some of this by damage boosting, just because the cycles, they don't line up well at all. If you're trying to go fast, you're kind of just out of luck. There's also a perk that allows you to take your dash ability, not the dash ability, but dashing in the air and make you invulnerable during it. So that is nice to have, but it's not necessary or worth going out of the way for, really, because it doesn't change routing all that much. We are going to damage boost here. This section we need to get through 3 of these vents. The first 2 just unlock the access to the next 2. And then the third one is that room with spikes at the end that we need to get through. And we're going to damage boost here, because we're going to take a heal right before this boss fight at the end, so long as we don't take any accidental damage here. If we have enough health, we can go for these dodging strats, which are a lot easier to hit if you are Arum, because for a smaller hitbox. But if we're not full health, they're risky to take, because normally the steam will chain damage into the spikes. It's just not a fun time. We're going to prep our scythe here so that we can open with the specials. Since as we swing, we accumulate sin, it's better to open up with them and try to use them more throughout the fight. They're also faster, which means that if we can't get like a 2 or a 3 hit combo off, we're able to use them for more efficient damage whenever we do have the sin for them. And this is the point in the game where you realize, okay, Oxy's definitely done something. He is evil. Soul, who's been trying to help us this entire time, is completely brainwashed, and he's going to just outright attack us now. This will also give us the final weapon of the run. So we are about, I'd say right now we're about 60% done.
I'm just doing
I also like
math
that
versus the estimate. I'm like 60% of 120.
There is a fat 3-minute plus cutscene at the end of the game. You get away from there. The ending cutscene of the game basically wraps the entire story up, but it is an unskippable cutscene where you need to do inputs afterwards for dialogue, so it still counts as part of the run.
Interesting.
And he should almost be done. Fun thing about that pull, the hitbox is kind of just on his person for the first swing. So even if I'm mid-swing, I can kind of avoid damage even if I'm standing right in front of him. Ended up getting me with the second swing there at the end, but it should go a little bit faster this time.
The game is very generous on the save locations.
Yes, they're very, very generous. There's only a couple of locations where you can die and be sent back to where you actually have to traverse through a room. Normally, you're right outside the boss fight, which is nice. Or they will give you a shortcut that you can open up in order to get there more quickly. And there is a second fight that we do with Soul in this game. Fortunately for us, that's the one, or one of the three fights that we skip at the end of the game. His Soul 2 fight is, it's quite obnoxious. So I'm actually glad that it's out of the route. But it is a very, very fun fight. It plays a lot on the already established moveset that he has, with a lot of, I would say, more annoying iterations, honestly. There's moves that he does more of that you don't like to see, but he also gets some new moves in there. So it is it's enjoyable to play against. And if we charge up the punch before we enter a room, we'll punch immediately as we enter that next room, since it drops the input. So we can use that there to not have to charge up in the room where that rock is. And now that we've received everything that the game has to offer, we are just getting to the point where we're going to have to basically restart. Not from the beginning, but in terms of our meta upgrades. We still will have all of our weapons, but our nameplate will break. We're going to lose air dash, double jump, wall cling, all the fun stuff, including the frog's abilities. His are apparently attached to our nameplate as well.
So is the frog kind of like your pet now, or are you connected in some way, or he's just, chilling and helping you out?
He is chilling and helping us out. I think that during my time with the game, somebody has told me in passing that this specific type of entity is a frog. It might be in Korean folklore, I believe it is. But a frog that sits on your head for protection. So he's kind of like a guardian spirit. Kind of like, have you seen the movie Coco?
Yeah.
Kind of like the dog in that. Doesn't really do anything, but he's there to protect you. You just got to believe it. But he's actually a lot more useful than the dog, I would say. All except for, the ending 10 minutes of that movie. Now we get into one of our other unskippable cutscenes. Oxy has revealed himself to be the villain. We confront him, we get knocked out by Soul, and we get trapped in this thurible. This is how he's accumulating spirits, accumulating power. So we're going to see a lot of other souls in here, not just us wandering around mindlessly. Which leads to the second escape sequence of the game. I honestly like the first one more just because this one's a lot more unforgiving. So hopefully we don't fall here. Instead of a horizontal chase, we're looking at a vertical climb. This is going to be fun. And they do a good job with this chase scene. They play off of a couple of things. They make you use the frog's mobility a lot. They make you use a couple different weapons, activate some levers. So all in all, I think it was just really well done. I will say, if you're a new player and you get stuck here, it will be a pain to get through it. But if you do, the rest of the game is definitely more than worth it. Those spike rotating platforms are probably the most annoying part of the run, because one accidental hit, you miss a ledge, and then you just fall into the souls.
Music's going hard too.
Yeah, it does. We need to switch to our bow here. Wall jump off the wall here. Switch to our bow again. Then we got these levers on the side, 2 of these sections, and then we're home free. And the frog actually has a really annoying interaction with his tongue hitbox, where sometimes it stays active for longer than you want it to be. So there are points in time where you will hit a lever in front of you with the frog's tongue, and it'll hit twice and just do nothing, which really sucks on those sections. Luckily, we didn't get any of that there. So since our nameplate is about to break, there is a couple things that we're going to grab, namely the air dash, the wall climb, and double jump, which are all, I believe, required in order to progress through the rest of the game. But we're going to be skipping a couple of them. We'll be skipping the frog's punch ability and the frog's leap ability. So our frog will stop being as useful.
Or frog.
Or frog.
And there's no way to interact or pet or do other things for the frog like we did with the dragon, or if you're familiar with Hades, pet the dog.
Not that I know of, no. He kind of just sits on our head, either that or we ride him. There's not really much inter-character interaction, unfortunately. So since we have none of our abilities, the only thing we can do is dodge roll on the ground. We're going to get air dash right now, so it won't be too long without it. This is going to be basically back to square one, minus our weapons. I've looked into seeing if we can skip any more of these, but unfortunately all of them are a little bit too useful to pass up. And there's just some that can't be skipped because of physical limitations. We're going to switch to the bow here. These guys take 6 hits. Oops, we're going to damage boost here. Or not. The lever decided to be hit again and come back to me. And you can never make this cycle earlier than this cycle, and I missed it. So, we were almost there. These cycles, I believe, are global upon entering the room. There is some interactions with pausing. The game actually pauses cycles, but I'm not sure exactly how it works, so I've never been able to utilize it. But if we figure that out, there's a lot of these cycles that will just be a little bit more bearable to get through. And this section is basically teaching you you're going to be using the bow for this boss. So she tells us, you're here, I can't get close to him, you're going to have to beat him from range. And she gives us one of the only soul-generating resources in the game in the form of this field. So we actually won't run out of soul while we're fighting him, which is nice. If we shoot low enough on the jumps here, we can actually hit him on both the attacks. And we want to keep jumping because jumping will reset your attack when you hit the floor. So you get slightly more DPS just by jumping up and down while you're fighting him, as opposed to staying on the ground and just attacking. And we can damage tank a little bit here since it's the end of the fight. Cool. We get a full heal here as well as our air dash.
Were you psycho locking him, or he just normally stands in one spot and shoots like that?
So he has 3 options. He can use the attack from above. He can do the attack where he loads a bunch of arrows, or he can just load 1 arrow. The other ability he has is to switch locations, which he did disappear once, but he stayed in the same location. That's complete RNG, whether he sits in the same location or reappears on the other side of the map. But luckily, he did only try to disappear once, so that did save some time. And this is going to be another fight where we pretty much want to face tank so long as we have all of our health. This bear rolls a lot, and that's going to be the worst part of the fight. But if he doesn't roll, this is actually one of the fastest fights. He has a few attacks. He's got a 1-2 punch. He has a very annoying AoE attack where he turns around if you get on the other side of him, and he will spit at you. He will charge you, and he'll roll. So I actually missed both of my attacks there, both of my specials. The biggest time sink is when he chugs. Hopefully he doesn't do it, but we'll see. Looks like he's being friendly. Yeah, he's being friendly. Cool. So his chug attack is where he'll take a sip of his appropriately aged Capri Sun, and he'll spit it at you for quite a while. It's like a 3-second animation. You can do nothing but sit there at range until he finishes it.
And do you happen to know, like, 95% of the game is sort of this black, white, and gray, and then some things are highlighted obviously in red. Do you happen to know if there's any, like, theme or correlation as to what gets to be red and what isn't?
I'm not sure, actually. There's a couple things that are highlighted red, and a lot of the things I've noticed that are red are indications of danger or damage. Oh, this is going to be bad. But there's no, as far as I can tell, there's not a large amount of consistency with what gets to be read. I think it's, it may just be part of the art style being a lot of grays, browns, blacks, and then just a red. Because there's no green, there's no blue. Oh no. This man has an attack that we'd like to avoid. Luckily, we've got our lantern boy here. Oh, that was close. This is the attack we want to see. He just screams and turns the room dark. That is literally the best thing he can do. Oh, that was close. Ah! And dodge rolling behind him does have a hitbox there. We're going to need to redo this section. Luckily, it's a quick traversal. But after him, that is the last meta upgrade we're going to get back. He gatekeeps double jump from us. So if we can get that, we're pretty much done. There's just a couple of skips we need to do before the final boss. We'll take the courtesy save here too. I don't think we're gonna die again, but it's just in case.
I've got faith.
I believe. That's my fan. Okay. I should be fine from this HP, so long as I'm not at half health. Because attacks are pretty readable. But I'll likely make 1 or 2 mistakes. Not enough to kill me. Not from this range. The nice thing is they only do the dialogue once, so we'll go right into the fight this time. After staring at him for 10 seconds.
I mean, every fight starts with a good stare down, right?
Always. So, since their attacks are complete RNG, there's a chance he just won't use his darkness ability, which is the only ability where we can just kind of sit there and wail on him. So, there is a lot of RNG in terms of like when you can and can't attack enemies, and that will obviously gain or lose you a lot of time depending. That wasn't too bad. That could have been a lot worse. But the spin move there is kind of the worst case scenario. It's a very long time without him having a melee hitbox that you can actually attack. We're going to go ahead and save here just in case. And this is going to be where we perform the second type of skip of the game. This is going to be a damage boost. And my headset did just die. Let me see if I can fix that. Cool, we got it first try.
Yep, you just popped back up on my end.
I believe I need to reconnect my Bluetooth headset. Let me do that real quick.
Hang tight, everyone. It seems like we're having a brief little set of technical difficulties. Don't mind this. And so if you want to see what's coming up down the pipe, go to gamesdonequick.com/hotfix to check out our Season 4 schedule and check out the schedule for an in-depth look at every run coming up. It seems like we are back up and running.
We are back. I had to switch to speakers, but don't worry, I have the volume pretty low, so there shouldn't be an echo. Oh, and we got the trick first try. So we skipped a few things. First one was the ability to frog punch, which is how we did the double jump skip. The second one was the arena, where we would get the frog jump ability. And the final one was the Soul 2 fight, which you saw him on the right before we came here. Luckily, that was a bit of a time save getting that first try. So we are really, really close to the end now. Just 2 more bosses, and they're back to back. And you also have to do them both without dying.
Okay, a little bit of peril. Just a little bit.
And this is Oxy. He thinks he's the big bad. He's going to use the Thuribal's power along with all of the souls that he's trapped inside to become the new owner of Purgatory. Purgatory is his. And he has probably the biggest amount of RNG in terms of when you can and can't attack him. He has a few things he can do. He has 2 attacks when he is in this state. However, when he's in that state, you cannot attack him at all. Even if you did, you won't deal any damage. When he's in this state, he can summon the black orbs, or he can he can summon the black orbs, or he can do a hand swipe attack. I actually had one fight before where he stayed in that state the entire time, which was a huge time save because there were no invulnerabilities, and the fight lasted less than half as long as that. But now we figure out that this weird smiley mask guy named Faith is actually the big bad all along. He was using Oxy as a puppet, and we're going to chase him through this weird dimensional door and try to save Purgatory. This is our final encounter, and one of the only skippable dialogues with a boss. So he's got his Thurible and his spear weapon. And this man, like any good boss fight, has multiple phases. This is phase 1. He has a couple annoying attacks in this fight, the most annoying one being the spear charge. Because during the spear charge attack, he will turn toward you to face you, and it's also a very long-lasting attack. The more he does the 1-2 stabs, the better, or that big stab. But now he's going to eat the Thurible, consuming all of those souls, and turning into whatever this thing is. And there's a little bit of safety we can do with this run. If we get full soul here, there's a special ability I haven't used the entire run, which allows us to negate 1 instance of damage. The reason we don't use it is because we want to use it for damage, but during the end here, it's kind of useful. So we just gotta pop that. The shield lasts quite a while. Shouldn't be knocked off until we actually do take damage from him. So we should be okay, even though visibly it looks like it disappears during some of his transitions, like this.
Oh, wow.
And this is phase 3. He has a lot of these pattern attacks where you kind of just have to run in between everything and try to hit him amongst all the chaos. But his thing really is screen control. He really likes to do a lot of these screen-wide attacks that you can't really hit him during unless you're using aerials, as you get locked into you get animation locked into your combos if you're staying on the ground. These are different patterns of doing double jumps, not doing double jumps. We're going to do this one more time, and he should be almost dead here. We've dealt quite a bit of damage to him. Just in case, pop that. There it is. And then there is still a chance that you lose the fight after this. But phase 4 is just a, are you more competent than a first grader section, where everybody will come in to help you at the end, including Soul. He was on our side all along. I knew it. And 6 hits to the head and he's done. So timing ends after the 3-minute cutscene and finishing up the final inputs. But now we get to see the results of everything that happened. We get to see we're breaking out of the dimension. We get to see all of the souls being released out of the Thurible. And we actually do get resolution with being able to see our father.
Well, while we are watching the lovely artwork that we have going on here, why don't you go ahead and let everyone know where they can find you, where they can see more of your content, any shout outs that you might have, or anything else that you want to talk about real quick.
Yeah, for sure. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you guys for having me on here. It's been an absolute pleasure, especially during the Christmas season. It's been nice to be able to give back a little bit to the community and share my love for these games. And hopefully I can continue to spread some joy and be able to the best of my ability, make this a place where people are able to enjoy speedrunning and gaming in general. You guys can find me on Detra63, DETRA63 for YouTube. where I'll be uploading a couple of challenge runs that I've finished for Rogue Legacy 2 but haven't uploaded, including no dashing, no jumping, no moving, no attacking. Hopefully I'll have those up soon. And for Twitch, twitch.tv/Detra_gaming, DETRA_GAMING. I stream pretty much every day for a couple hours. The schedule varies. I've been very, very focused on completing Rogue Legacy 2 speedruns recently. The current world record sits at 36:07, held by me, and I would like to lower that to around 32, 33 minutes, get as close to 30 minutes as I can. So I'll be doing that for the coming months. In terms of shoutouts, I would just like to thank my community. They've been nothing but supportive through all this ever since I started on Twitch 2 years ago. Through all the variety gaming, the speedrunning, everything that I've done, they've been nothing but a blessing to me. And especially getting through the past few months, the past about 6 months have been really, really hard health-wise, and it's been nice to have them to rely and fall back on. I would like to also shout out my folks. I went through some health stuff recently, and they were kind enough to take me back into their home and help me while I'm recovering. So I absolutely love and appreciate them. And once again, just thank you for having me on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
No, the pleasure has been all ours. I want to just take a minute to recognize that you've been running very difficult, very demanding games for 3 hours straight, which is just wild to me. So this has been an amazing showcase. We really appreciate you being willing to come on and to share these games with us. I'm not sure how much longer the cutscene has, but
it's time.
Okay then. With that, I want to say first and foremost, again, thank you to Detra for running basically the entire show and making my day very easy. Also, a thank you to our commentator Cabbage, who did join us for the first couple of runs. And then this is actually the last episode of Perilous Paths in 2024. So thank you everyone for showing up to the show, hanging out with us. We will be taking a short scheduled break for GDQ, which you should be watching. It's going to be an amazing event. And our next episode will be January 13th, I believe. In the meantime, wherever you are, whatever you celebrate, I'm wishing you all the best of happiest and best of holidays and a wonderful new year. We will see you in a few weeks, but in the meantime, take care and don't go anywhere because we have Hidden Heroes coming up, hosted by Anarchy. You're not going to want to miss that. But that is all for me. Take care, everyone, and have a wonderful rest of your year.